the realities today, China is probably the most powerful nation behind America economically. Going forward in the next 50 years, it will be the most powerful nation. So it was really clear to me 20 years ago that rather than working in environments where people have worked before, there's huge opportunities in China. You know, we had a really good learning experience because working with Chinese executives, ministers is interesting. More than interesting, incredibly rewarding. In fact, probably the most rewarding thing I've done. So I mean, we developed a publishing company before they had Chinese software, so I won't go into the technical challenges of publishing magazines in simplified Mandarin before the software exists. So I was keen to say we can do it, and then I worked with a team that say, well, this isn't possible because we don't have the software. But it was possible, and very quickly we published, I think, in the first 3 years, something like 18 different business titles. And yeah, they were absolutely fantastic. Loved them to bits. And they were a good read if you understand simplified Mandarin.
And tell me about that, you know, obviously you, I mean, 16 years ago, you must have been...
A young man.
16.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you were an incredibly young man. To go out and to meet these Chinese ministers, what happened? Any stories from the road?
Stories from the road I won't go through. But the Chinese are really different in the way they work with you. And in Western society, it's all about contracts. You need a contract and you need an agreement, and it needs to be written down and you sign that agreement. And very much in China, when I was 23, I kind of sit there and, you know, they'd almost literally sit me down, the ministers be really serious and sensible, and then they'd put a bottle of white spirits, you know, Chinese drink, all range of alcohol, white spirits on the table, and they'd literally say, sit there, and we'd communicate over 3 hours and a lot to drink. And I'd struggle, but I think they were searching really for whether you were an individual they wanted to work with, whether you were capable, whether you were trustworthy. So it's a very different way of doing business, and in fact a really good experience to learn how to be respectful in many different ways, not judgmental in terms of culture. And if you do that, in return they will kind of work with you, and still to this day I think I'm the godparent of 2 children in China, and I really like it. You know, there's lots of opportunity there, and we had a good time. And the office there, we met rules and regulations that were difficult. This couldn't be done legally. You have to be 51% owned by the government, and that was the first challenge. Meeting after meeting, I would be left for 2-3 days outside just waiting, and you just got to sit there and wait. And you've got to be focused on what you're trying to achieve.
And now with KL and Sydney, time to revisit the Asian Tiger, do you think a good time to get back in?
It's a different perspective now. I think where I tried to achieve with GDS and maybe push GDS too fast, we didn't have the critical mass. And when I mean critical mass, I mean the number of quality staff we have today. What's possible now is we're an international company, and the person that's running the Sydney office is hugely capable guy. So even though we have a vision and we have a talent, the realities are his team already started as a good team. So the opportunity in Australia comes from our good work over the last 10 or 15 years in training, in schooling, in creating that kind of culture. So that was what we did in Australia, and it was quite fortunate that we opened that office actually. KL was a different decision really. The Australian office looks only after Australian business. The KL office, which is proving really challenging, is looking after the Asian region. But again, KL is also there to provide us a platform to make sure we can capitalise upon the next set of growth figures in China.